Yeah. Well, it's like it's weird because it's like this is like I'm starting to see a little trend. It's like they have there was the whole course of the Sanjay Gupta going, and then like a little light, kind-hearted, like oh friendly conversation. Joe Rogan. It's like all right, this is cool. And then everyone was like, "Oh my God, did you hear this?" And he said this, and I was like,
because when he was on the talk.
"Yeah," and but it was
Another View. They talked about Another View.
And like it's weird because I listened to.
And she was like, "He's a racist, a transphobic, homophobic."
Yeah,
and then
like. This is so weird because like I listened to podcasts and then I was like I didn't understand what anyone
well,
was
Rogan's laughing
about
it. It's like, and he's like, "Do you realize how many like there are hundreds of millions of people who watch my shit?" It's like, and he's like, and these people like they watch it like
like
they
actively engaged.
Yeah,
well,
no, they're like they know who I am. Like they watched me for so many years. Like if you tell like my fans that I'm a racist, like they're all just gonna laugh at you.
Like what are you fucking talking about? Like, this guy talks to everybody. Like what do you?
He goes on tours with Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, like I mean, one of his closest friends. He has skits on the Chappelle show. It's just several. Like,
hey Joey. And when he did the New York boobs, he was like
randomly like
he was walking in New York and he was like, "Joe, come on, do this." And Joe was just like, I finished doing Beer Factory. I'll just hang out with you all you pin ribbons on their chest.
Oh man, I don't know. Like it's kind of like you said before, man. Words don't really mean anything anymore. But yeah, like everyone's like I listened to the Joe Rogan podcast with Sanjay, and I was like, well, what an interesting conversation. And if anything, it made me interested in Sanjay because I was never.
He's a joke.
Yeah, I don't know anybody on CNN outside of like I think T.J. Holmes, but that's just because he had that other show that I liked on BET that got canceled.
I mean, I guess he's alright for CNN, but at the end of the day, he's a joke.
I couldn't tell you. Like I don't have. I mean, I was impressed with the dialogue that they were having on Joe Rogan. I was like, oh, this is super interesting. This is super cool. And like, oh, this guy seems to know a lot about different things, even if they don't agree with the efficacy of the of.
But he still wasn't being honest when he was pressing him on the issues of the network.
Yeah, you could kind of see like how he was being.
He was like
defensive.
Oh, it's a lot of people were disappointed that I felt better the next day. It's like, oh no, it's like, come on, man. Like,
yeah. He was just like, oh, you're the only person. They wanted me to
die.
yeah. Like, I'm happy you're feeling better. He's like, yeah, you're the only person who's probably seeing that. He's like, ha ha.
No. And he's like, oh, come on, man. It's like, if I was in the hospital, they would have been thrilled.
Yeah. I remember when. And the same thing like with Alex Jones and all that. Like they were just.
Well, now Aaron Rodgers is getting a lot.
Oh yeah.
You didn't hear about him?
No.
So it got leaked that he didn't get vaccinated.
Oh.
And he's got COVID.
Oh, so now they're just like.
But he doesn't have any symptoms, and then because he didn't like tell, I think he lied and said that he didn't. But he has like an allergy to one of the components in I think the Pfizer and Moderna
vaccines. Oh, okay.
So
he has a legitimate reason to.
He just didn't want to divulge it.
Okay, that makes sense. That's what.
Yeah, but it's chaos. Because every ESPN segment that they're talking about him, it's just smug.
Of course, just looking. Like looking down the nose at like, oh, look at this guy.
Yeah, they were talking about like the fact that he didn't want to divulge, like the way he handled it was very like, I guess, selfish. Which I mean,
but it's his health.
No, but they were saying like, well, how is this going to impact like the team?
Wow. That's not selfish.
I don't think people care. Like these guys are literally going full speed and cracking their skulls, and they're gonna have dementia at 50. Like,
right? Like, I don't get it.
Most of them don't have strong political preferences.
I remember reading about,
especially in a black-dominated league.
Yeah, the Negro League. That's what Negro fucking league. The Negro fucking league. Yeah, no football league sounds better. that's what we'll call them. But I remember hearing about this one. I don't know who he was, but He was an NFL player, and he was like he would have issues like after he retired, and he would just like like turn on the TV, and it would just be static, and he'll just like sit there just looking at it, and he just didn't know what was wrong with him. He didn't know what was wrong with him. He knew something was up though, and like he couldn't really put it into articulate it well. So he just and he ended up killing himself. But before he did, he got like all these magazines of like brain trauma and stuff like that. And he like opened it up, and he just laid them all over his bed, and then he killed himself. And I was like, holy shit. And I think he shot himself in the heart for the purpose of something like he wanted people to study his
I know
brain or
Junior
something like
Seau
that.
did that. He shot himself in the heart.
Okay, yeah, it might have been him. I'm terrible with names.
But he became like an alcoholic after he retired.
Yeah.
And then he became like very physically abusive.
I see it. I mean, it's hard to
After he retired, he didn't have like
Yeah.
a history of abusing.
Yeah, because you have to find some kind of way to cope with, that lifestyle change. Oh my God! Did you laugh? Who the fuck? It's like it's all good.
We can start recording.
I started recording. Yeah.
It's been recording.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm because I don't know where to start.
You didn't do an intro.
My bad. No, fucked up. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
Black Bruce Buffer.
Gotta get my James Earl Jones on.
Let's get ready to Kool-Aid.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But yep.
Oh, instead of it's time, it's oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah, we're just gonna change everything out, man. Flip them. Unintelligent intellectuals. Part whatever. But there's like 6, 7.
I don't know. Siete?
I don't know.
Siete 7?
Progressive. Very Latinx of you. Fuck it. Chinese. Alright, no. I touched on that already. Very
Have you watched any more of the Charlemagne show?
No, I haven't. I saw something about
Don't.
Yeah, I saw a headline about him like talking to this someone from the Democratic Party but
You should have watched last night's.
What was last night's?
Discussion of polyamorous relationships and is monogamy an outdated way of looking at relationships?
That's a very dicey thing for him to talk about of all people, But oh boy.
Well, it's stupid because like the whole point of it, like you can have polyamorous relationships if your relationship is solid or needs something extra.
Yeah, and as long as both people are down for it. Like if it's just like.
I'm not talking about that. I'm saying like look at the divorce rates where we're at, right? Like it's like at 56, 58%.
Yeah.
And then single parenthood's high.
Yeah.
So it's quite obvious that the relationship structure in our culture right now is not strong.
Right? No, it's very true. It's just that.
So why make it more complicated and difficult?
I know. It's yeah, I get it.
Yeah, they had some chick, and then they had Michael Eric Dyson.
Oh, he's smooth talking brother. Yeah, I know him. He talks in poetry rhymes. So he's almost
The Stephen A. Smith apology.
Yeah. He's almost.
Let me look up what SAT word I can utilize today.
Yeah. He's almost.
This encyclopedia looks pretty good. Let me check
Yeah,
it out.
he's a step away from like
The
an Einstein rapper.
the duplicitous tranquility of the.
Yeah. Like me and my brother would like poke fun at like pretending to be reverend in like a Southern Baptist type of
He's
church.
not even
and,
that.
Talk like that.
But that's what
I know,
he
but that's what he
utilizes.
saw. Yeah, that's how he.
Which
speaks,
seems
like,
also very racist to me.
Yeah,
That you try to speak to black people in a way that just steals like religious rhetoric talk.
I mean, yeah, everyone's different, man. Like, like I don't know. Like it could be, or it could be maybe that's what he grew up around, or that's just a pattern of speech that he fell in love with, and he's like paying homage to it.
But
like,
he's used a lot. He's using it to go a direct route.
Yeah. But it's just like you would look at MC Hammer and it's like, oh, look at this guy, like, oh, this dancing buffoon is like, oh, can't touch this. But like this guy's an actual gangster. Like Redman would talk about like, yo, I was scared about getting run up on by MC Hammer, and just like, it's like, nah, this guy's fucking serious. Like, oh shit, like MC rolls like that, and he even tried to like come out like as a serious rapper at some point, and then it just didn't catch. Like the image didn't catch, but like that's who he is.
Because we know him with the pants and everything.
Yeah, we're just like, oh yeah, the dance. Oh, it's like, all right, well this guy like he'll kill you. So like,
oh Jesus.
Yeah, reality and versus image are two different things. So it's like, you know, God knows. I don't know Dyson's background, so I couldn't say for sure, but
he's just annoying.
He just seems like, yeah, like just because something sounds nice doesn't mean that it's right. And so I think some people just like to conflate those two things.
Well, because he does, his opinions have changed with the change of the culture from what he's trying to, from what like the people that he's been always following. Like there's never a differential opinion of what the typical person of who he's been talking to is.
I see.
You get what I'm saying?
He
like,
is inside a specific kind of bubble, so it's like, you know, the rest.
Like when you look at like a Rogan, he's not like like against abortion.
Yeah.
He's for abortion.
Yeah.
He's pretty much always been for gay marriage.
Yeah.
So like there are things that he's gonna do, like where people think that he's like conservative. He's not.
Yeah, I was watching something where somebody was like, "Oh, he's a liberal." It's the first time I hearing about that. I was like,
it's just because he's big into guns, hunting, and free speech.
Yeah.
Outside of that, pretty much everything else he's on is a liberal side.
I mean, he was talking about
universal basic income.
Yeah, he was talking about, he was 100%. He's like, yo, I'm really about this Bernie Sanders guy, and he's just like, oh, he's like
Tulsi
really
Gabbard.
he voted for Tulsi.
Well, he had Tulsi on, and then he had God, I almost said Jimmy Wang, and that's a wrestler.
No.
Jimmy Wang.
Oh, you're talking about
Jimmy Wang Yang.
One of those. So I can't do it.
He did the Elvis impersonator.
Yeah, wait a minute.
The Cypress.
Oh yeah.
No, what's his name?
Was it Wong?
Yang Gang. Is it Thomas Yang? No.
All right.
You know what I'm talking. Yang.
We're racist. There we go. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking. It's Yang.
Yeah. The guy who came out with the idea, or who was
he worked under the Obama administration for like. What is it? Small businesses or something like that.
And then he came out with the whole universal.
And then he ran for mayor of New York and lost that. But it's Yang.
Yeah, he wanted to get that idea.
I forget what his first name is, but his last name is Yang.
Andrew Yang.
Andrew Yang.
Yeah. I was racist.
But he had him on there.
Yeah.
He had Yang on there. He had Bernie on there. He had Tulsi.
Yeah. So people just have these simplifications. They see him. Oh, I know what it was.
Okay, let's get back. So I'm trying to say,
prancing off in the.
I'm trying to say that he has different opinions based off of the situation that's in front of him. Whereas Michael Eric, he's always got that same track the whole way through.
Yeah, I see that. Okay.
Like if things get more progressive a decade from now, he's gonna be right there along with it. Like he's not. Like if things get crazier past critical race theory, he's not gonna be like, hey, let's get back to this that I like. He's gonna go. He's gonna be right there along with all that crazy.
I follow what you're saying. Okay.
Because you never heard him talk about this before.
Yeah, the only time that I really heard him talk, he had this one panel discussion one time at the school, and he had like those him, Nas, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And I was like, oh, this guy, I like the way this guy talks.
Was it recent or?
No, this was a while ago.
Okay.
And then I've heard him on Real Time with Bill Maher, but that's the only avenues that I've seen him on. So, I just saw like, oh, a dynamic character. Oh, he's intelligent.
Because you can see like there are progressive like professors who don't use terms like whiteness, right?
Yeah.
Because they didn't. That's not what they knew, so they go back to what they know, and they try and fit it in with the discussions that are happening.
Yeah.
Whereas he will use the terms that are being used by people who are like 20 years old.
Yeah. He tries to stay hip with the times.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
But it's because his delivery is so like, I have this knowledge.
Yeah.
But it's like, but you weren't talking about this 30 years ago. Like,
Yeah. So like, if you have this critically acclaimed
Yeah.
like theory, like
Yeah.
how come all of a sudden like over?
I mean, we all know that whiteness is like da 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 da. It's like, but you didn't like you weren't using whiteness 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Because if he was the first one to do it, then it would make sense. Oh, okay, this was like one of the first.
Yeah, but he's hopping on these social media hot topic terms in order to stay.
Because he was trying to
forefront of
tiptoe,
whatever conversation.
like when they were talking about like the different relations, having breaking out of like typical monogamy and everything like that. Is he was tiptoeing around it without saying that don't do this, but he was saying like the foundation at home needs to be strong first for like the kids and like everything like that. Yeah. And then he's saying, and then like he was tiptoeing around it instead of saying like we don't need to worry about this. Like this is something that we don't need to worry about. Like the first, like instead of just drilling the point home of your foundation needs to be strong before you do any of that. He wasn't saying anything negative about what that could be.
Yeah. Oh. Sounds more like a politician than anything else, man.
Well, that's what he is.
Yeah, it's great.
He's a non-elected politician.
Yeah, he's a public face, yeah. But I mean, when it comes to those kind of relationships, it's like, you know, there's so many different people and so many different things and different ways to look at it. There's some people that I'm sure the that the poly relationships work really well, and some people where I think it doesn't work so well, and some people think it works, and then they're gonna end up on the next 48, you know, the next episode of the first 48.
The problem is she used a term. The girl, she's like in her 20s. It looked like, now she could be like 28 or 30 , but she looked like she was young.
Don't crash. Superpower, bro.
Light skin energy. So she said, I believe, white normative, I believe is the term that she used. Oh, boy. And you already know what that means.
No, I actually...
So, like, this whole polyamorous thing is a way, has the undertones of attacking the nuclear family. Right? Because...
Oh, they identify the nuclear family as
because
a
remember,
white normative?
yeah, because remember,
Okay.
remember that was on the Black Lives Matter website for their goals?
To attack the
they said we reject
the
white notion of the nuclear family structure,
right.
And that a community can raise the kids together. But I was like, but the biggest problem with the black community is that it's broken. So.
Yeah, it's just
if you don't have like the structure to raise the people within the community. How is the community supposed to raise them?
Yeah, that's what like they're it's the oversimplification.
You gotta fix one before you can start talking about the other.
Yeah. They're looking at one thing. They're like looking at things and taking things out of context and thinking like, oh, this is the perfect snapshot of what everything's supposed to be.
But it comes back to being against like this anti-white thing.
Yeah, because back in the day, I mean,
because they actually were talking about how like people back in Africa would have concubines, and they mentioned some woman queen that had 50 concubine males, and
probably actually Yodit.
But it was just so stupid. It's like that's gonna be like
well, like
well, in Asian culture they had Genghis Khan.
Yeah,
like.
That's
so
why I support boiling people alive.
I should populate 10% of the world
and wipe out another ones that I don't.
Idiots.
Yeah, man, it's
and probably 80% of that was rape. Like
very heavily.
Actually, no, probably 100% was either rape or sex slavery. So.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I could see that, but or at least. Back in those days, it wasn't. There was not a lot of room for females to move around. So it's like, all right, well.
But it's not even talking about like healthy sexual relationships or healthy relationships, because there's this undertone of it being like, oh, it's against that Western European.
Yeah, so like that's what I'm saying. Like they're oversimplifying.
Like, so we're trying to go back to our black roots of having multiple.
Wow.
Like that.
Was Charlemagne all about this too?
You know him. he's neither not there or there, and then he makes jokes, and then
because I know
because
like
he's not smart, so he just.
Yeah.
I mean, he is smart, but like there's certain
you're not
like,
you don't respect the
yeah.
opinions. Yeah, no, I feel you because it's like it's frustrating because it's like you see someone who's like my introduction to Charlemagne was when he was talking to um what's her name they were talking about the Black Panthers and he was dropping some knowledge about it. I was like, oh, who the hell is this guy? I was like, whoa, this guy's super intelligent.
Was it Candace Owens?
No, it wasn't Candace Owens. She was a commentator. I think she was on Fox News. She's a young white girl.
Who knows?
Oh yeah, that
doesn't matter.
Narrow down.
That's half the anchors.
Yeah,
Young white woman.
Yeah. But he's talking to her about like I was like, well, who is this guy? I was like, well, this guy's so intelligent. Like he's talking about all this history, and then
he does know stuff, but he selectively knows things.
Yeah, and that's more frustrating than anything else because then
you don't fully know it's just like the Nick Cannon shit.
Exactly. I was just gonna. Oh yeah.
It's selective knowledge about something without having the full grasp of it.
Right, and the danger with that is that you not only do you think that you're right, and it's harder to like really have honest conversations of what the facts actually are because you're just gonna double down on what you believe and you're thinking that everything that I'm saying is pooper paper. You're misleading a whole slew of other people who can catch on to a few things that you say, but are too busy like living their own daily lives to really pay attention or want to do any kind of research, and then they sit there and they trust you because that's we have a prejudice and an instinct to try to simplify our lives in order to be able to maximize time. And it's like, oh, you listen to this guy talking, like, oh, he says some things that might be right, and then you hear him talking to whoever, and then you're like, oh, everything he says must be right, yeah. And then that's the real danger.
And you're not going into like this of what like polyamorous relationships come from. It comes from people that had enough and also like the emotional and physical capabilities of having multiple partners and doing that the right way.
Yeah.
So saying like, hey, maybe it's something you should try.
Nah.
Is not the route to go.
Yeah. Because like, and this is what, they definitely take out that all out of context, and they try to. It's also like I'm branching all over the place, but let me try to get back to the trunk.
For a second, I thought you said the Trump.
Yeah. Oh no. God damn.
I need a.
Everything is his fault.
Have you listened to Shane Gillis?
Who's that?
That's the guy that got canceled by SNL. He got hired and then got canceled.
Oh, really?
Within like a week.
Oh,
4 days.
What do you say? What?
Oh, he had podcasts where he was doing Asian accents and.
That's too heavy for what?
Well, he made jokes. Like he had a joke. Basically, he was talking about.
They played.
He had a segment thing where basically he was making a joke. Like, I think he said like, "Let's put these gooks over here," because it was like Chinatown in New York. But he was saying it like that's what white people were saying to the Chinese.
Yeah,
it's like because they were like in Chinatown because they're both comedians on the podcast.
Yeah.
And then like so he had a I mean he
clip out of context.
He was talking shit about everybody.
Yeah.
Like blacks, whites, Irish, but he had a lot of Asian things. But this was right at the height of that whole Asian. We need to be careful what happens to Asians. Wow. So it was just bad timing, and then it gets announced that like, oh, Shane Gillis has gotten hired. So of course, like somebody had gone through and like gotten tweets,
touched that clip, and then that became the viral TikTok, and his career was
Listen to him talk about it was funny. It's like his manager calls him up. Did you on a podcast
referred to
like called him a bunch of chinks, and then he was like. No, and then like 5 minutes later, my manager sends me a text of a video clip.
Oh my god!
He's like, "Oh, I guess I did."
Yeah, but see, like that's taken out of context. Like it's not like a hardcore felt belief. It's not. He wasn't trying to Oliver North it or anything like that.
He wasn't famous. He literally was like a barely surviving stand-up comedian who like lived in a house with like 3 guys or an apartment with like 3 guys.
Yeah, but it's like it's not like the deeply held belief
the podcast.
To look down on
I think the
Asian
podcasts
people.
were like 2 years old or something like that. So it's literally
so
just
it's not like it just happened, but someone took this and put
But
it
it
in
was
the
just two
context
guys
of
who
it
were like,
now.
we're going to talk shit, and this is never going to be seen by anybody.
Yeah. Yikes.
And then he got SNL.
Damn. Well, that being said, let me
But
tell you.
his Trump impersonation is unbelievable.
Okay, I need to check
Because
him out.
his accent isn't that good, but he's got like the way in which he says things.
Yeah.
Because he described it some way like he's like you repeat things and then you also like talk about. So he's like, this guy's so bad, absolutely terrible. But like he has like all he needs is to get enough of that New York voice, and then it just hits.
You got the mannerisms. That's intense, man.
Oh yeah, he's great with the hands.
Speaking about Chinese, it's like no. No, but like with the link it back to like so someone took what he said out of context in order to fit the narrative and be like, see, now we have a sacrificial lamb, our pound of flesh, game is done, we did our job, end of story. Meanwhile, he doesn't hold these hardcore beliefs against Asians or Asian
It doesn't matter.
Americans,
He's making tons of money.
Yeah, I mean, good for him. I'm happy he's able to survive, but it's
because he's now been on everybody's podcast. Like he's been on
being
Rogan.
able to tell the story out about this stuff.
He was on Rogan like maybe a month or two ago, and then he came on Rogan again with Ari Shaffir and Mark Norman. The three of them went on Rogan, and like they're all loving each other. Like
I think I just started that one. They're like it's like real quick. They're going back and forth. I was like, oh okay. Usually I don't tune into the Joe Rogan with the comedians because I'm just like, oh man,
that's a good one.
Guys,
Shane's on that.
Okay,
he's the guy drinking the Bud Light.
Yeah, I'll check it out, man. But
by the end, he ends up I think drinking like the whole like 12-pack, and he starts saying, "Come on, Joe, let me sleep on the floor," because he wants to sleep at Joe Rogan's house.
I just want to let people know. Oh God. Yeah, I'm gonna check them out, man. But imagine how many times that happens to people who aren't able to bounce back like that.
But now it's I think course correcting.
Yeah.
Because when something like that happens, everybody's like, "Oh, but this." Like as long as you're funny. Like if he wasn't funny, he would just be done.
No, but I'm not even.
But he's funny.
I'm not even talking about comedian. I'm just talking about like just your normal everyday person, like somebody who takes something
that's
normal everyday
different.
person out of context and. Yeah, and so it's like going back to the whole Dyson thing or like and then this conversation about polyamorous relationships versus monogamy
or him in general. I don't like anything that he talks about.
I heard some of the stuff he said.
He was on Bill Maher last night.
Oh, okay.
With Glenn Lowry. That's good. You know who he is?
No.
He's the black economist, kind of chubby, kind of bald. Has like the sides with some hair still on it and a goatee.
I'm not familiar.
He does a podcast with John McWhorter.
Okay.
Do you know who McWhorter is?
No.
He's been on Bill Maher a few times. He's a linguist.
Okay. Yeah. We're going down a rabbit hole of. I'm gonna compile a list, man. But I don't have cable anymore. But so I watch clips every now and then.
Surprise! They're all black.
Yeah. Oh, implosion! No way! They hold these beliefs. But
Glenn Lowry's a pretty like big conservative.
That's cool.
As far as economics go, socially he's kind of just like let people be
who they are. Like very libertarian, hands off.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I got you.
Obviously, he probably leans conservative with his like moral values, but
but he's like, I'm not going to impose onto everybody else how they should live their lives, which goes back to this.
Or maybe he's not. I don't know.
We don't. Yeah, I don't know the guy personally.
The problem is that they feel like they need to speak out, also as black men who are intellectuals, that they need to speak out against dangerous ideas. So they end up coming across as having a very more conservative stance.
Right. But meanwhile, it's just like, no, this is just my.
So he could be liberal, but it's
just
he's definitely very outspoken against any type of language restrictions or anything that involves critical race theory or anything like that. So they kind of. He seemed a little nervous, though.
He seemed nervous with Dyson?
Lowry did. Okay. Now, to my knowledge, that's the biggest platform he's ever been on.
Okay.
He normally just does podcasts with other people, like Jordan Peterson or a Sam Harris. Like Sam Harris had him on. So like
comfortable conversation. So
So
he's
he
used
I
to
mean, he
talking to
looked like he was
people.
sweating a bit, and he looked like he stammered a couple of times.
Yeah,
But I think that was just nerves that he was on such a big platform for the first time,
yeah, I can
and
see
he's like
that.
in his 60s, so like he's
Yeah,
like, this is
like
very
what's
uncharted waters.
yeah? Why did I come out here? All these people are on this looking at me talking. Yeah,
But it's
yeah,
more just like you could tell he was a little nervous, but he
yeah.
wasn't like nervous about his actual ideas.
I mean, the fact that he came on, he holds his ideas, and then he comes on a platform like Bill Maher, which I think is one of the best platforms that you see that kind of.
Now
It's
maybe he
only an
just
hour
sweats. I don't
long.
know. Like,
Yeah, it's true, but it's like, but like they're having conversations with like very people who are like diametrically opposed on so many big issues, and they're able
well,
to
they no,
have
but Mar and him
conversations.
agreed
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Because
because
Mar's really like he's a lot more centrist or more conservative than
he's a free
he's.
speech guy,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
which
So
again you end up coming across being conservative.
yeah, and he's a prime example. Prime example of somebody who's like, oh wow, he was like super on the left, like when he was first coming out,
Yeah.
and then.
He's still very left.
Yeah, but I mean,
But
like
his
he was
examples.
like on the cutting edge. Like
Oh, yeah, I see what
there
you
was
mean.
no
Yeah, yeah.
such thing as progressive.
People weren't outspoken about those views, whereas he
Right,
was.
right, and then like all of a sudden it's like now the shift's changed and now he's seen as more centrist.
He had a
And it's
funny
just like,
line. He said, "I think the only critical race that we should be focusing on is winning one."
ooh, yeah, yeah, he's really big on people going on voting.
Well, because Dyson was talking about what was he? He was talking about like what critical race theory is trying to do, and like teaching the history of slavery and this, that, and the other.
That's
And then
not.
and the Mar was saying like, okay, like I understand what you're saying, but that's just not the case. It's like
That's
when you have segregated campuses that are not being initiated by white students.
yeah. Then who are you really educated to?
Then how are we getting more progressive?
Yeah,
It just seems like
yeah.
we're going backwards.
100%. And then also, it's like when you talk about critical race theory has very little to do with. I'm gonna teach you about the history of slavery.
I mean, it can, but it can't.
Yeah. Well, let's. I'm gonna dive into the whole monogamy polygamy thing. Like first, like
We're going back to that.
yeah, yeah. I wanna like properly like dissect different things. Yeah, I like bouncing around. Yeah, this is very disjointed ass.
That makes it sound like you're
podcast.
against monogamy. I like bouncing around.
Yeah. No, my take really is. Hope my wife's listening. No, but like the origin, just to be like because we're all like all these things, even though we're bouncing around, it's all kind of centered around the same thing, which is like the real danger of oversimplifying complex issues and like presenting it in a certain way, and people eating that up and then regurgitating that shit out, and without having any type of thought process to. That's terrible to say. Without thinking of, without taking time to critically think about how they personally feel about these specific issues or how these things came about. Like when it comes to monogamy and polygamy, it's none of it has nothing to do with whiteness, normative Africanness. Like none of it has to do with any of that. They just look at what they're doing is they're looking at communities in Africa right now and like. And I don't know before this is like my dad grew up in that kind of community. It's like, oh, you do something bad in school, like you get your ass whooped by the teacher. The uncle hears about it. You disgraced us. You get your ass whooped there, and then by the time you get home, your folks hear about it. You get your ass whooped there. So it's like, yeah, it's the community type of mindset, but you definitely had like a nuclear family type of thing. But but people look at that and they're just like, oh yeah, Africa community, yeah, that's what it is.
But I think sometimes it gets from like that argument side, it gets more into like sound bites.
Yeah, and that's the.
Whereas like
that
a libertarian approach, it's much more of a like, okay, let me take 25 minutes to try and figure this out.
Yeah, yeah.
Or like Dyson
even-
usually does
even if-
that.
even
Dyson isn't.
Strictly.
He's in sound bites.
Yeah.
He's on
and
this
that's-
like CNN, MSNBC platform, like
Yeah, that's what's dangerous about even.
like
though,
let me
how-
have this line that da 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 da, and then they can't refute it.
Right.
But then like if
it's
you
acoustically like.
but then if you give Bill like 10 minutes, he's gonna make you look like an idiot if it isn't a sound argument.
Yeah, exactly. And when it comes to the whole polygamy monogamy thing, it's like the whole like humankind we were polygamous by nature. We could like just like all right, oh she's cool, smash. All right, like let me move on and do this. Like we didn't really start forming these monogamous type of families until we started settling down in these agricultural communities where we started staying in one place. We moved from being nomadic
Well,
into more
also,
like
you could die.
yeah, yeah. But it's like, but
And one of the
once we
reasons why
decided
we
to
slept, why we would sleep with everybody is so that we all, because you could die.
yeah.
I mean, granted, skin tone would
No,
play a
but it's
factor.
not, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
well, that's not my kid.
Yeah. No, but yeah, let's pump out as much
but like
as possible.
you would die. So I would not. I would feel less obligated to raise that kid if I've never been with who you were with.
Yeah.
But if I was with them, I would be like, well, that could be either of our kids. So
Yeah.
we're gonna.
And do it, yeah. And
So
then,
if I die, you would want to take care of that kid, and then
Right.
this kid, and then that kid. So
Right.
then we
And
had
it's like-
less of an issue. But like you were saying, when you settle down,
right.
I now know like.
And that wasn't a white black thing. It was just
Like,
it
I've
was,
got my own thing going on here. It's like, well, why am I using the resources that I'm gathering to help you? Like,
right. Yeah. It wasn't conducive. All of a sudden, it's like, no, this is mine and that's yours. Whereas, like back in the day,
we might
like,
help
more
each other if we
nomadic.
have like that type
Right.
of connection.
Oh yeah,
but
come over for this. Oh, I got this extra pig. Da da da. But it's not like, oh yeah.
we don't have obligations to do that.
Yeah.
Whereas when we were roaming, we had obligations to
Right.
make sure that everybody was getting taken care of.
Yeah, and that's not a white or black thing. But like generically speaking, like in Europe they had predictable weather patterns, so they just happened to be more cities. And in Africa there weren't a lot of predictable weather patterns because there weren't large mountain ranges.
And you were following your food source.
Yeah, so that's why it's
Whereas in Northern Europe, we had like sheep and then
yeah, it's
cows.
like, oh wow, we could raise these.
we
and
domesticated
could live
them,
off
and
of
then
these
that's it.
Yeah, so it's a lot more, and that's why we're able to, not because Europe was so much more productive, why people were so much more superior than black people. It's just because circumstantially that's
We
how
settled down.
We
I mean, we don't know
developed.
anything because we're unintelligent.
Well, but we are intellectuals.
Like you could maybe like white people started settling down more.
Yeah.
Or at an earlier state, which then progressed that type of
yeah, and then you
societal thinking.
exactly. You had more time to be able to do all these other things, and that's why like, in European society was able to progress with all these other.
It also can explain why Native Americans didn't develop that much.
Exactly.
They
But
had
it's
all
not
this. They
because-
had all this food around themselves, and all they needed to do was just follow their
And it's
food
like,
source,
oh, we're
and they
good.
just lived off the land because of how fertile it was. So
Yeah.
it gave them less incentive to.
Yeah.
And then also they didn't have invaders.
Yeah. Well, they fought amongst themselves,
They
like,
didn't have
it was
invaders on a
constant.
consistent basis, whereas like England had like the Danes and the
Well, it was
Iceland
like,
and
it was like invaders from an outside. Like England had its own identity.
it had its own conflict, but it also
Yeah.
was constantly being invaded by the Vikings.
Yeah. So because
So
they had this,
they like
external-
needed to start
Yeah.
developing like better.
Yeah, they had an existential threat that they could all be like, okay, well, that's not cool, and we share these principles and ideas. Let's
And then that
all
helped
unite
unify them,
together.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So
And then when
that
you unify
dynamic
all those people, you're obviously gonna like.
have a little
have-
bit more growth from like a little bit more downtime.
Well, we
to be
have all
able
these
to-
things. Do we need to have a more educated group that's gonna
Exactly.
like help push chemistry or something?
Yeah. Whereas
Because Native Americans are just like,
okay,
as long as we can hunt, like.
yeah. It's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna fight with these people because we had this skirmish and this thing and this blood feud. It's like there's a rich culture and a rich war history there even, but it just evolved differently. It doesn't mean that it was better or worse. And the same way in Africa, it didn't mean it was better or worse.
Well,
It
it's a
was just
sink or
different.
swim type thing.
Yeah, very much so.
Like
Whereas-
not every country in sub-Saharan Africa is the same.
yeah,
Some are better than others
yeah, and then even
because of the areas that they were in. They had to do more probably.
yeah, it's like I mean, like if you grew up in the savannah, East Africa, it's like all right, well, like I'm jogging these whatever.
Like Kenya's very
right down,
successful, and that's got to be for a reason.
yeah, it's
I
like,
don't know what that reason is because I don't know the history of Kenya.
well, like in the eastern, like Ethiopia, Kenya, Eritrea, all those places, like this. Is
I just
about
know
nomadic
Kenya has the
ideas.
highest like best way of living. Or what's the metric?
Oh, like
You know what I'm talking about?
yeah, the
Like the living standard or something like that.
yeah. Well, I know in Africa
Yeah.
compared. Okay.
No,
That's
every
interesting.
country has a living standard. I don't know what that is. It's a combination of like how much money you're making, the GDP of that country, the poverty rates,
Yeah.
access to clean water. It's one of like those things.
Yeah.
I believe Kenya has the highest like way of life.
I could see it.
in sub-Saharan Africa.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know why that is.
I would have thought that it was Ethiopia, but I mean, I could see them
It's Kenya.
fighting.
I mean, that maybe that's changed, and
They're
because
right. They're right next to each
it
other.
was maybe
I mean,
like 2 or 3 years ago that I like was looking this up,
Yeah. No, I could
like
see
Way
it.
of Life or something like that.
Yeah, I can see it. It makes sense. But like going back into like Stone Age, like nomadic hunter gatherer. Like if you grew up in Savannah, Kenya, Ethiopia, that area, Somalia, like you're over here, like you're avoiding these like high, functioning apex predators.
You said nomad, and I immediately thought of Neanderthal. I don't know why.
No. Yeah, I mean that's like
A completely
common.
different species.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, there's like 12 different Australopithecines and bonobo variants.
Gigantopithecus.
Yeah, yeah, whatever the fucks. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What Neanderthal is just one of those motherfuckers. Like, I don't know, but yeah, but yeah, like so in Eastern Africa they developed that way. Western Africa is a lot more jungle based, so they just happen to be a lot more top heavy and develop a lot more muscular skeletal structure and whatever, or skeletal muscular whatever. That sounds smart. And
You said West.
yeah, West was like
Because the
more
East
jungle.
has more plains then, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So they need to
Depending
be
on savanna.
runners.
Right. So then, if you look at it like and how they've evolved up to now, like we look at like the apex competitors from around the world, and some of the best 800-meter runners are from Eastern Africa.
Yeah.
Like that's a weird coincidence. The people who are like really good at running long distances are from East Africa,
Yeah.
the place of the savannah.
You
And
look
then
at the strongman competitions, it's all northern and
yeah, Neanderthal,
Icelandic people.
Yeah,
It's all
yeah.
the Viking countries.
Yeah, yeah. So
Denmark, Iceland, Greenland,
So maybe evolution's real.
England, and then obviously America.
Yeah, yeah. So.
Like there is never a black person on those
Yeah,
things.
yeah. 'Cause- but then if you look at like sprinters, it's like, all right, well, like, oh, it's a lot of Jamaicans. It's like, all right, well, Jamaicans were brought over from West Africa, and then they developed in a different kind of way than they did in West Africa. It's like, oh wow. So it's in a way that's conducive to sprinting as opposed to just conducive
Long
to
distance.
beating the shit out of people. Oh no, long distance, Eastern Africa, strong build wise, West Africa, top speed sprinters, Jamaica. Like I mean, it's just people are different. Just to say like all that, just to say people are different. So to say that monogamy to simplify things in terms of this is white and this is black is fucking crazy. That's not my end point of the whole stupid evolution tirade.
But that's how they use. That's how they're. Because it's this whole thing. I don't know why. It's this whole thing that like the feminism is pushing, where it's like it's these undertones. Oh, and then she was talking about how to. Oh, this was actually interesting because they were talking about polygamy and of how it's traditionally a misogynistic and patriarchal thing. Because it's usually a man that's having multiple women instead of the opposite.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Oh boy. Has nothing to do with stability and okay. I mean, like we look at like there's the Berber culture in northern Africa, which is very matriarchal, and there's a lot of monogamy there. But is that because of the patriarchy? Well, like okay, like I don't know. I mean, this is the oversimplification is insane. But if we look at there's so much more there than what they're trying to simplify it into. And if you look at it from that large lens or that big scope, you can appreciate the people from these different areas and they looking at it in these different ways. And it's like, all right, that's what it is, or this is why it is. And it's like, okay, do we like this? Do we not like this? And now we live in a time and age where you could do whatever the fuck you want. You could be monogamous if you want. You could be polygamous if you want. But it's not, however you...
You shouldn't even be having these conversations.
I mean, you could, but it's just not...
Because it's not conducive. It doesn't help anybody.
Yeah. I guess that diversifies the thought, because I guess people who just, like, grow up in one lifestyle, like, just isolated to one thing, and then they want another thing, and they feel like there's something wrong with them, and then they find out that there's, oh, wow, I could be in this kind of relationship, and this is healthier for me. And then like that's very mature, kind of like you could grow up and be like, all right, well, you go out with somebody and be like, all right, cool, well, I'm all about being exclusive. And the other person like, I'm not. And you're just like, all right, well, I'm willing to deal or not. And then like there's a whole community of people who are like swingers, and it's like, and they're very happy.
But that's very small.
Yeah, exactly. Versus the other people are just like, no, I'm very much.
And
about
those are people that
exclusivity.
probably both have high sex drives.
High sex drives and very comfortable with themselves and want to explore, but like find that, and at the same time they're still.
That's just a select.
Yeah,
It's
very
such a
rare.
small, minute thing.
Right, but and so like you're open to do that, explore that world if you want to, but it's not like end all be all, and it's like so. Like the diversity of thought is cool, but just to be like that absolutism of like you need to be either this or like should we be monogamous or polygamous? I agree with you.
I think it's not
like,
about an
that's a
absolute. I
crazy-
think it's about pushing, like, pushing lifestyles that people don't have a full grasp on what that means.
Yeah, yeah. They're just like, oh well, I don't want to fall into the white hierarchy. Like, I'm gonna have.
I think most of the
multiple-
people that are going to be interpreting that and trying to use that are going to be younger people.
Yeah.
Right.
For
It's
sure.
going to be like under 35 or something like that.
Yeah. Then they're gonna realize this is not conducive to raising my children. Wait a minute. I mean, sometimes it is. But,
It's not.
Yeah. Like I could say, like
It's because the people that are doing that aren't doing that like with honesty.
yeah.
Remember we've
yeah.
talked about this, like it's
Yeah.
being honest with how you're moving.
Right. Yeah. Like if you want to move that way, it's good. But as long if you're honest with the person, then both people know. Okay, willing to make that decision of
Like the
whether
chick
I'm with
that's
it or not.
the chick that's
versus-
23 years old that's in a ethical monogamous relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
That never ends well.
Yeah. Oh man.
Because eventually that guy's going to find somebody that's better than you and going to want to spend more time with that person than you.
Yeah.
And then you're going to get jealous.
Well, like as long as people are honest with each other, but like, hey, this is what I want, and then all of a sudden, like, if you just get comfortable and adapt
But
to that, and,
in order for that to get to that point, your relationship needs to already need to have a firm foundation.
yeah, and it starts with, or at least
Where you're having that conversation, it's like, is this something
yeah.
that would help?
honest,
I don't know.
honest conversation. Yeah. So like, if you want to have that, and like, if the purpose was for like the diversity of thought, all for it, because it's like I think that's a benefit. Like, I mean, I have my preferences, monogamy works for me, and maybe it's because I have a shitload of kids. But one woman, but like it's and that's the environment that I grew up in, and that's what I'm used to, and that's what I'm comfortable with, and I played that game like when I was dating around, I was like bouncing around, like, oh, this is fun, but that's not what I wanted, so I was like,
Because
all right.
you have stability.
Yeah, I prefer that. So like, I mean, and everybody's different. That's just my story, but everyone has a different story, and they're just
So
exploring
people
it
are
for that.
lying to themselves because
Yeah.
people want stability.
Yeah. People just,
Most people don't want instability.
yeah, and that's what's like. What the fuck is the name of that show? The one on Netflix that you're talking about. I watched 10 minutes of and like exploded.
Love Life?
Yeah. Man, or she just because she wanted the stability, and so she just wasn't honest about. She just wanted to get blasted by everything that moved, and then but she had this guy who was super honest, super nice, made a lot of money, cool with the kids, good with her, like to talk to her, very honest from what I saw.
Because he wasn't like a fuck boy.
Yeah, he was.
Move on to the next.
And he was 100% about monogamy. Like, he was just like, he could have played around. Maybe he does later in the show. I don't know how that diverse is. I can't get past the first 10 minutes. But he was all for it. He came home like, oh, let me tell you about my day. And, oh, yeah, hey, baby, you're not listening to me. Come on. Hey, let me tell you about this. Oh, I got to go do this. And she's over there just daydreaming about getting plowed by someone from 10 years ago. And meanwhile, he sees her space out. He's like, hey, what's wrong? You okay? And she's just like, oh, yeah, no, nothing's wrong. It's like, you could just have a conversation there like, hey, let's spice it up. I want a little bit of this. Hey, what do you think about tiger masks? Whatever the fuck. But like, I don't know. Like, whatever. Hey, can you do a Russian accent? No, I was just curious. Like, whatever. Like, but nothing, because she wanted that stability. But then she still went out and decided to get, whatever, wrecked. It's like,
I
yeah,
really like talking about that show in that way.
fuck that show, bro.
Because it was just so silly. It just didn't make any sense.
I don't get it. So it'll be one episode long. Hey, this is how I feel about this. Oh yeah, well I don't like that. Okay, well let's go our separate ways.
There's
Sometimes
the end
people
of
grow
the show.
apart. The end. Yeah. Or hey, I want to do this. Hey, well I'm not really about that. Yeah, but I really want to. Da, da, da. All right. Well, you know what? Even though I'm not really into it, I know you are, so I'm willing to try it. Boom. And that's life, relationships. Boom. Being open, honest conversations, and then you end up where you're supposed to be instead of living this lie, and then you have a you're going through this big morality judgment thing, like, oh, I'm out here doing this. Should I be doing this? I don't know. And then the other guy's like, oh, well, yeah, or gal, whatever. Oh, is this person cheating on me or not being honest with me? I don't know. It's like it's insane. Like it's fucking it's hectic. It's a fucking nightmare. Like life is about. There's so much more to do in life, and you're over here like deciding to just focus on this one thing, and you're not even being honest with yourself about it. And how you gonna be honest with everybody else about it? So like, if we're gonna start about relationship, monogamy versus polygamy. You gotta work on your like mental state and being honest with yourself, then being honest with your partner, and then discussing what it is that you like and don't like. But I have a strong feeling that that's not what they did in this fucking show. Charles Charlemagne the God talking about it.
No, it's like a 23-year-old talking about it.
Yeah, so.
And she was in a. She had a boyfriend and then another dude.
Yeah. Was she open with them about it? Is she like? What do you mean? Was she like?
Dude, she's everything. If you saw her, you would know every single thought that she's had in her mind in the last 5 years.
No, not that way. I'm saying like, is she honest with both of the guys that she's with about? Okay, and they're 100% well.
Dude, it was not that in depth. It was Charlemagne's show.
Yeah,
you're acting like they like gave backgrounds on things.
Well, like this could be like an ongoing. He could spin this for like
he's
10 episodes and just dive into the weeds and really help people.
He's not gonna do it.
Frustrates me.
He doesn't care. He wants to make money. That's what this whole thing was about.
That's what's frustrating, man. Because it's just like you have the capacity, you have this platform, you have this capability, and you just decided. And no, the terrible thing is that I don't think he knows how that what he's doing is how bad of an effect it's having on the community.
No, I don't think
he does. I think he thinks
because he gets enough positive reinforcement from the people that are already okay with what
and around him and producing it and working on this show with him. He's thinking like, oh, this is I'm doing the right thing, and he's all about the mental health. I think that he's good for that. Because I saw him on that one thing with that one Fox commentator. I was like, oh, let me look this guy up, and let's see Breakfast Club, and I was like, I can't watch this shit. But but then when I hear him talking about mental health, I was like, whoa, I've never heard anybody.
I mean, he does have interesting takes.
People are nuanced, man. Like I could love you for some stuff and hate you for other things. I hate him for this shit.
It's not nuanced enough.
Yeah. This is not. I mean, I haven't even watched it. I don't. Yeah, you're right. I'm not gonna watch that. That's gonna piss me off.
He has a lot of feminine energy.
Yeah. I would say.
That's his issue. So he's not gonna be wrong like all the time. But he's just always emotional with how he comes across on issues.
Yeah, I can see that. But he'll kind of mask it though. Like he'll be fine about it.
Dudes.
He's not gonna be open about like, oh, this is how
I mean, like dudes that just come from dudes that come from environments where it's very female dominated.
Yeah. Unfortunately, so it's like.
They don't act like females, but just every now and then they just they act very they have emotional reactions.
Right, but that's what I think it will be beneficial.
And an irrational emotional reaction, not oh, I'm really mad because I care deeply about this.
Right, and I think that if you're that honest,
I'm really mad and I don't know anything about this.
Yeah. If you're honest about how you feel with yourself and out loud, you'll end up for example, I think. I have a lot of feminine energy,
it's male aggression without any substance.
Yeah. It's just unchecked powers. It's raw, just it's ready ready to blow. But it's like I think I have a lot of feminine energy, but not
Benicio
because of
del Toro
my.
and Wolfman.
Yeah.
I will kill all of you.
but but it's like the way that I process like feminine energy is like, all right, well, like I feel this way about it. Like, hey man, you said this. I kind of feel some kind of way about it. I don't like it. It's like, all right, well, fuck you. Oh, for real? All right, that's not gonna be
You can have an
you
over
gonna-
emotional reaction, but if you know what you're talking about, it at least
Yeah, well, I mean, like,
alleviates it.
yeah, because like I could be honest with some, like I could be honest, like okay, I like this, I don't like this, and I could talk to the person about what I like and don't like, and if the person reacts in a negative way, it's like, all right, well, I might escalate. I'm not going to be the best being diplomatic at that point, but most of the time people are just like, oh man, my bad. I didn't know that. Like I didn't mean to do. And then we can have a conversation, and at the end of the conversation, you guys might not agree, but then it's like, all right, well, yeah, I don't fuck with this person anymore. You know, no hard feelings, but that's what it is. Sometimes they need a punch in the mouth, you know. But as long as but as long as you're willing to have that conversation first, it's like, or be honest about it. It's like not only are you able to flesh it out in a mostly non-violent way, in both circumstances, but you're able to be honest with yourself and walk away.
Well, I'm not worried about
some
the
level of
violence
growth.
because we're at a time now where words are violent
That's so stupid. I hate
and
that.
non-action is violent.
That's so stupid. I know. No. Words mean words. Like I can't. Violent.
Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words may never hurt me.
Like, God. Like you could say like, oh well, these words like hurt me emotionally, make me feel this kind of way about it, but it's not the same thing as enacting physical pain.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like, and you could argue about which one's worse. Like people coming back from no duty, it's like, all right, well, I have no PTSD, but I'm missing a leg. That sucks. Versus someone who has all their limbs intact, but they're never really back because they're constantly scouting the skyline and and every building they're like looking up for snipers and anything that glints. They're just like, oh,
see a
shit.
bag in the middle of the road. They're
Yeah.
like, sword.
yeah. So it's like you could argue the conversation about like which one's worse, which one's better, but more constructive.
Remember they did that in American Sniper. I think it was like a bag like filling the road. He like veered off into the grass.
Man, shit. You don't understand, man.
Could have been an IED.
Yeah. I can laugh about it, man, but yeah, that shit's serious. But yeah, like that's an interesting conversation to have. That's an in-depth thing to go through, and like if you have feminine energy, you process it that way, cool. But if you're just sitting there and you just you're gonna mask it and pretend like oh yeah, like you're gonna talk about mental health, but it's like talking about that you I'm not perfect, but then you never talk about your imperfections. It's the same dynamic. It's like all right, well, like you're not addressing any of the issues that you're claiming to have.
Uh-huh.
So it's like, and if you really want to be the forefront of depicting this issue, then you have to showcase, not just like you can't just stand here and tell your kid like, hey, stop, you're not supposed to stay away from drugs and alcohol, and like I mean you could, but I mean more likely than not it's not gonna end up the way that you want it to.
Yeah.
So it's like if you got it, showing is a lot more important or instructive than just talking about it. If you talk about it, it makes you feel good and you feel like you're better than everybody else and talking down to everybody, but and like you're on this pontificating on this fucking platform pedestal that you think you're on. And,
Pontificate.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Eric Dysoning it, man. Did you see the Jon Stewart? He was talking to this guy on I don't know, but it was an interview that I watched a little clip.
What was it about?
They were just talking about the state of the media at the time. Jon Stewart just came out with a new show or podcast.
Did he shit on somebody?
I don't know about not in this clip that I saw,
Okay.
but he was just talking about the state of like the social media. Like like we really don't talk about like the media really like exposes the fault lines, like focuses on the fault lines that we have in this country, not the actual issues. And the guy was like, oh well, is it the media or is it like these activists that are talking about all these things and what did he say? He said, is it these activists that are putting on this performance or like this performative narrative in order to garner this attention, and instead of talking to the people and that know less or understand less, and then try to bring them into the culture.
Uh-huh.
It was kind of like he looked at himself as he's on this pedestal, and he's just like, or him and people who believe like him are on this pedestal, and if you disagree with him, it's like, oh well, I need to talk down to you, like I need to educate you, and then after I educate you and you understand, then I'm gonna bring you into this into this world of and open your eyes and come out the cave, and now you're able to see the world for what it is, as opposed to having enough respect and dignity for the other person to be like, you lived a different life than me and you might look at things differently than I do, and I come up to these conclusions from these things and you come up to different conclusions, and short of having a crystal ball, neither of us know what's right. We're just trying to hold on to these, grasping at these straws of what we think is morally correct in order to move forward.
Yeah.
And I think if we're able to have open dialogue, but he wasn't willing to and it was a really slight thing, but he was just kind of like I could hear the undertones of how he's talking down to people who disagree with him, and that's at the crux of what the fuck the problem is. And Jon Stewart keeps on he kept drilling it into it because with the conversation, he was just like he was trying to deflect
because that's not what he's trying to say.
Yeah, it was trying to deflect from oh well, it's not the news, it's these activists. And Jon Stewart was like, yeah, no, I agree. These activists sometimes they put on this performance to get the attention, but
it's both.
Yeah, but he kept on talking about he kept bringing it back to the media. He was like, he's just like, yeah, I mean they put on this performance and try to get the attention, and maybe if things work out this way, it'll be good. If it doesn't, then it's bad. But this isn't the real problem. The real problem is this, the media. He included himself. He's like, you know how it is. It's like, I was in media. You're in media. It's like, and you hear about these stories, you see these stories about these good constructive things, but how often is that? More of the time you hear about exactly. And he kept snapping back, and then the guy tried to deflect again. He's like, oh, so you're saying it's the politicians that are? And he's like, yeah, the politicians aren't doing what they said they're gonna do, but for real, we have a really bad job. We do a really bad job of de-escalation. And the guy kind of okay. And then he started talking about something else. But it was like, but yeah, that's oversimplifying things into being like, I'm right, you're wrong, fuck you, and let's go from there, as opposed to oh wow, we're this complex mix of people with different histories, and let's come together and try to talk about things in a way that works for everybody. Mm-hmm. And so it's, yep, listening superpower needed. Yeah.
Listening superpower.
Yeah. I still got time. All right. Yeah, so that's how I feel about the whole thing. And so when I hear people who are really close to fucking to they have this big art audience, big platform, a lot of people who put their trust in them in terms of how they shape their or make their decisions or shape their mentality, and they just fucking miss the mark. It's right there. It's frustrating. If it was just some nobody.
I think it's usually not right there. I think they're usually completely missing the mark.
Well, I see it as for that mark, it's kind of like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where it's oh man, there's so close when it comes to all these things, and oh nice, there's this solid message about racism and this Booker T. Washington type of message, cool, and then it comes to politics and they're blah, blah, blah. Geopolitical issues, and it's
fall down a hill.
Yeah, it just fucking explodes in the.
Oh, they kill Kenny.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah.
So has anything else been eating at your mind?
No, this war, that's really what I've been revolving my thoughts around, this war on media type of thing, because of those reasons. I mean, the oversimplification and all that jazz, and it's coming to the forefront, but still, even with that shit flashing in people's faces, they're still not all right, this is what we have to do. There's not a wide consensus on what needs to get done. It's all like what needs to happen for us, and and I started diving into the critical race theory thing, and I was just like, all right, why is this such a hot topic? Like I don't get it. And then yeah, so that's something that I sink my teeth into. Um, so when it comes to that, it's well, first the whole like oversimplifying complex things. I'm a broken record player. But they're like Facebook is getting flack for like, oh wow, they have all this stuff and they put these algorithms that just eat at people's soul because this is what makes people angry and sad, so they keep putting it at the forefront. And yeah, they're playing off of our emotions. That's fucked up. Yeah, they should stop it. Somebody needs to stop it. It's like, no, you could just not use Facebook and communicate in a different metric, or you could just avoid your or be aware of your biases and be able to have conversations with people who disagree with you if you know that this is what it is. But it's so it's like it's right there. Like people are like, oh, Facebook, oh man, this issue, and they're like, oh man, yeah, we have identified that this is the problem, this is the issue, and then it's just like, all right, this is the solution for this issue because water puts out fires, but then it's like then we find out it's a grease fire, and then we're just like, yeah, water works still. And it's like, nah, man, it's a grease fire, and they're like, yeah, water, yeah. It's like, oh fuck, yeah. We're all gonna burn. So here comes critical race theory.
Oh, have you are you caught up on Colin Kaepernick's new Netflix show?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't watched it. Have you watched it? No, I don't think I'm gonna watch it.
I haven't even seen a trailer.
No, I'm not. I'm not remotely curious. But like critical race theory isn't okay. I'm gonna teach you about the history of Black people and enslavement. Critical race theory is you're a bad person because you share a genealogy with people who did these terrible things, and you're a victimized person because you share a genealogy of people who were exploited. The end. There's no solution. There's no nothing. There's just.
So I'm sorry. I'm trying to pull back up because I took some notes.
Oh yeah.
Did you see what is going to be happening with Wonder Woman?
No, what's happening with Wonder Woman?
So there's.
I haven't seen. Well, I've seen the
not the movies.
Okay.
The comics.
Oh boy. Oh.
So there's.
I'm afraid.
There's a thing called the Well of Souls.
Okay.
Which I think was implemented in their previous.
The movie.
Not edition. Volume.
Okay.
It's volumes, right?
Yeah.
Volumes, and the editions are within the volume. Okay. So the Well of Souls, from what I've read up on it, it's like the souls, or like I think it's the souls of women that have experienced violence at the hands of men.
Oh boy.
That then can allow other people from that well, I think, can then enter the Amazon. Or the Amazonian, like, they can become them.
Wow.
So you're getting a black trans woman.
Oh my god. Wait, but it shouldn't. Oh no. Wait a minute. Because it's for. Okay, so.
It's supposed to be Amazonian, like,
an
Amazonian women's society that is untouched by modern. But anyway.
But the thing is supposed to be untouched by men.
Yeah.
But you can't. So you can't be trans. But now they're saying you can be trans
because of the Well of Souls.
But
the writers were very thrilled because it lends to so much possibilities going forward.
But yeah, like what if someone like comes in and they're like,
so basically the Amazonian
starts slinging around that dick and
no,
like,
chill out,
actually,
chill.
This is about to turn into a whole different kind of show.
But now there won't be any more Amazonian women.
Wow,
that'd be funny though. If they like could just phase them all out.
Yeah, that's intense. But then, and I'm not familiar with it. So fuck any. If you're just a woman who died at the hands of like some kind of serial killer who happened to be a
Well,
woman. Fuck
no,
that.
I
You,
think
you
I
don't
have.
you don't get to
I think there's a quote that I screenshotted.
you don't make it to Amazonia, and then violent
Um,
accident. Now you don't make it. Accidental death. You don't make it. Uh, that sounds pretty.
She is a fully fledged character that is important to her community, just as black trans women are important to us in real life.
There more.
That's
Like you're just trying to make a statement. See, that's the thing. It's like people just want to. It's like you want to. People who write that shit in just like, oh, you want to showcase that you're all about it, but you're not actually doing anything to help. Well, let me say it like this.
well, yeah, I mean, you're helping by representation,
Yeah, you're trying to diversify the
but it's
thought
still a
and showing it into
tokenization.
into the comics, but exactly, it's a handout. Like it's like, oh, instead of like working into the story in the way that it's like, okay, Wonder Woman comes across the like or someone an Amazonian comes across the modern world and sees a trans black woman doing all these great things, and is just looking at it like, wait, what are you? Da, da, da. And the person's like, hey, I'm living my own experience. Da, da, da. I feel like you're judging me. Da, da. You claim to be about women. What about these trans people? What about these
It's
trans?
just unnecessary social commentary about something that doesn't need it.
But it's like it's just out of context.
Well,
Like instead
superhero
of
movies are supposed to be very simple. Or
yeah,
not movies, but like comics.
yeah. Like I mean, they touch on like
It's
political
it's
issues.
good versus
but,
evil, and then a story arc of how that person overcame some type of issue
challenge,
in their
revolutionize something
yeah.
in some kind of way. Yeah, either like morally or spiritually or physically coming over.
The
something.
villain killed
But it's-
your mom, and now you have to get over that and not fall into some type of vengefulness and then become evil just like that person.
Yeah,
And it's like their battle between that, and then they like defeat the villain at the end of the series or
yeah.
whatever.
I mean, they talk and they touch on race. Like I mean, like they always dance around these politics, like Superman and World War II involvement and all that jazz. Like they talk about these political issues and so like that's cool, but just put it in the context of the modern world and where it makes sense. Don't give out a handout in order to like pretend to pay homage to this community of people because then you're like you're doing a disservice as opposed to thinking that you're doing it's just the whole snowflake and safe space thing all over again. Like it's just.
I can't
like,
remember the other ones. I just remember those.
I remember Dora the Explorer and. I don't know.
She just looks like Dora the Explorer.
She has a magical backpack. I mean, she's.
And that's the description. It's a magical backpack. It doesn't say what it fucking does.
I don't get it, man.
Well, that's why they're not making it anymore.
Yeah, thank God. But now they're just like they could have easily been like, all right, Amazon is Amazonia as you understand it. Cool. They interact with the real world. They see somebody and they see something, and then it starts to change their outlook on life. And now they're not open to men still, but now they're starting to include.
But they're not supposed to include
like
anybody.
Yeah, so it's like
because you're born into that society, so you already have those powers
from everything.
But you already have those powers because it's just like Superman.
Yeah, I didn't think
He's
that
like
it was supposed to be a rebirth type of thing. I thought it was a completely separate
thing. They did that so
but,
that they could get like a Muslim woman in next or something like that.
Yeah.
Because religion is now probably going to be a thing.
Yeah.
In a society that doesn't have religion.
Yeah, it's going to be. It's terrible. I don't get it.
I knew you would enjoy it.
Fuck them. Almost as bad as critical race theory. Whereas like people are upset with.
Well, that's just a byproduct of it, though.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Speaking about religion, that's kind of how critical race theory. Like I looked at like art. Where's this?
Well, any political viewpoint is essentially become its own religion.
Religion.
Because if you go against it, then you're not part of it anymore, and
get shunned by the community.
Yeah, you're ostracized.
Yeah. So it's crazy how it's like it's repeating itself, but then
you're not compliant. You're violent.
Yeah. Oh, your thoughts are violence now. Not only words now. It's just your thoughts. Yeah, that's crazy, man. But it's like that's like history's already showed us like, oh, this is the path that these methods of thinking and behaving leads down this path, and we've seen it, we studied it, we understand it, and then we have the audacity to be like, oh well, we're so much better than them. We would never do that, da da da. And then we do the exact same thing, call it something different, and then pretend like it's not related. It's fucking insane. Well, yeah, the problem with critical race theory is not like people aren't getting mad like, oh, why are you teaching about slavery, or oh, why are you trying to teach people that?
I don't think anybody knows what to be. Oh Jesus, that's a stupid yawn.
Yeah, you're good.
I don't think anybody knows what's being taught. I think that's the problem.
Yeah, I think everyone has their own idea. What I usually hear is that people who are all for critical race theory are
they give a baby explanation of it.
Yeah. Yeah, because
they give a very positive baby explanation of it.
Yeah, because it's wrapped in so many.
Like if anybody would at all oppose this, you're just an idiot.
Yeah, exactly.
And then a lot of the people that are opposing it are just very adamantly, like angrily opposing it, saying that this is the worst thing that's ever. But then nobody really knows what is actually being taught, which then at the same time makes you at least skeptical because you're like, well, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna prove something that I don't know anything about.
Well, that would be logical. Or let me check this out.
And everybody that seems to be for it seems to be very much on one spectrum.
Yeah.
Or one side.
Yeah. There's like, I'm not racist. I'm a good white person.
Well, no, I mean it's nobody. It's not like some moderate person is like coming out saying, "Oh, this is fantastic."
Yeah. No, I'm
moderate liberals, moderate Democrats, like reasonable progressives, libertarian, like everybody across that plane are usually not for it.
Yeah.
So if nobody on your side that's in the moderate position is at all for it, it's probably not that good.
Yeah. I'm poking fun at Charlemagne. He has a shirt. He's just like from that show. He's just like a good white person or something like that.
Uh-huh.
So he's just like selling these shirts that say I'm a good white person.
Okay, that's funny. I'll give him that. That's funny. But the problem is he's funny.
Yeah, and he's definitely entertaining, and he talks well.
But he takes steps into real conversations when he doesn't.
Yeah.
When he shouldn't be.
And that's what, like, if he was like nobody, or like if I didn't care, if I didn't like
if he was a comedian, it would make more sense.
Yeah,
because comedians you're allowed to talk shit because you're just the end goal is always to be funny.
Well, like even if you're like even if you're a comedian, like if you're like bullshitting around, it's like that's one thing. If you
I don't need Jerry Seinfeld to have an accurate take on world politics.
That's true. But if he's sitting down and he's trying to have a solid conversation about, which is what the show is, he's trying to have a solid conversation about race in America, but then it's like, all right, like you're so close, and then it's like,
but if he doesn't have it completely wrapped together the way it needs to be,
so it's just
it's going to be inefficient conversation.
It sucks, and that's my real frustration. It's because I see this guy who does all this good in the world and has all this potential, and like he ignores half of it. It's frustrating. But from what I saw in critical race theory, it's like born off of this it's born from postmodernism, which is born from modernism, which is born from this whole idea like, oh, the church is at the center of the universe and they have the answer to all your questions. So modernism is like, no, the church doesn't know the answer to everything. Like, all right, like there's an objective truth, and as we just talk to each other and progress, we're gonna exponentially get better at everything, period. And then postmodernism is like, no, actually, that's not true, because everybody comes from things from different backgrounds, and there's not an objective truth. What's right for you is wrong for somebody else. One person's terrorist, another person's freedom fighter, blase, blase. And in terms of theories, and then so they're just like, well, no, like you can't. There's not an objective thing. It's like it's all subjective based off of whoever you're talking to. It's like, all right, fair enough. And I was like, oh, cool. Like we're moving forward from this. And then, but from that angle, they're saying that, oh, well, since nothing is real or nothing is concrete, as I understand it, then the truth or what I determine as reality is whatever the fuck I feel like it. So if I think that you're a bad person because you're white, then that's truth, and that's what it is. Critical race theory is born. So
It's more. I think it's more complicated than that.
yeah, yeah, but it's like more so it's like it's simplifying history and like it's like that racism is baked into the public institutions as they stand right now. So it's like you could talk about the racism that like Charlemagne's like piece on Hoover was fantastic, but if you're gonna depict that like oh well because Hoover was such a terrible person and anybody else who ever works at that institution ever um, is also inherently racist.
Well, that's like saying a police chief that was with the Ku Klux Klan in 1940, and then there's a white police chief in the same town now.
He must
But
be racist. Of course,
they're two different people in two
right.
different times of period.
Two
and,
different
and-
families.
Yeah,
even. So it's like it's
yeah.
very.
He might not even be from the area. It could be like relocated from like California.
from Oakland
Oh.
to California. But yeah, but exactly that's what critical race theory comes across from that standpoint, where it's like, all right, well, like because these things are institutionally like this, and then it simplifies it. Like the more you simplify it down and at a lower level, then the harder it is for people to. That's what people are really fighting against. Like I think critical race theory, like as it stands on itself, like oh you could talk about, it, you could agree, you could disagree, and it's existed for a long time from what I've seen in college campuses and in law schools and stuff like that. And I was like, wow, that seems really interesting field of study. But when you simplify it all the way down to the grade school level, it you bring.
Well, that's when you're seeing people like separating people in classes.
And that's when they've simplified.
Black kids shouldn't have to sit next to white kids because
Right.
the white kids might say something. I don't know.
And that's when they simplified it to you're bad because you're white. That's where that came from. Not because that's what critical race theory
or you're
is,
black
but
and
it
you might not be
simplified
able
it.
to handle what this white person would say.
Yeah, yeah. Like oh
You can't handle your emotions
you
as
suffered,
well as the white kid.
yeah, you suffered all this trauma, so like you're coming from a backlash of this, and it's like
You're like
yeah.
I'm 7.
Yeah, like you like. I mean, it's crazy. Like I mean, if a 3-year-old falls down and like everyone rushes over, like, "Are you okay?" The baby's gonna start crying. But if it falls down, like, "Hey, walk it off," and like, my knee hurts. It's like, "All right, walk it off." It's like, "All right, you'll be able to walk away." But if he has a fractured knee, it's like, "Oh shit!" Like okay, like we're gonna look into it. But if like for the most part, the effect of the your mentality is gonna be able to overcome minor injuries versus and the same thing is the opposite also true. You could adapt to thinking that things are worse than they actually are. Mm-hmm. So if you think that race plays a role in how you interact with your 5-year-old I mean it's taught in 4th and 5th graders. It's like so your 9-10-year-old black friend versus your 9-10-year-old white friend. Those interactions are different, not because you guys come from different households or are taught different things or look at things a different way. It's because they're white and you're black, so you're a victim and they're exploiting you. So that's what it is. And unless you are actively fighting against racism, you are racist.
This is gonna get.
That's what it's simplified.
I know.
It's so much more. Critical race is so much more than that. But what it's simplified to, the pushback that people are really having against, is against that thought, the simplified thought process that you know, you're a bad person or you're a good person.
That's determined by another person.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my little issue with it.
Well, this is a very, nice, uplifting conversation.
Yeah, I feel good about myself now.
It's a positive Saturday.
Yeah. Oh man, I gotta work and work this extra daylight hour with that on my mind.
I'm getting my second jab tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It put me to sleep, man. I didn't have it like the first one. I was a little sick, and I kind of like, yeah, I'll be fine. So I don't know what I didn't really feel anything from that.
I had some night sweats the first time.
I was already sick, so I didn't really know. I was like, I don't know if it's the jab or because I'm already sick. But the second one, like I got it. I was like, I'm good driving home. I'm good. Messing around with the kids, and I was like, I'm gonna take a little nap. sometimes I take a 20-minute nap, get back up.
Yeah.
It's like 1 o'clock. I go to sleep. I wake up. It's dark outside. What the fuck? Oh shit! My bad.
You're fine.
But yeah, that was a problem. I was like, holy shit.
I hope that's not the case with me. I'd like to be awake during the day.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus.
But yeah, for the most part, it's not bad. But the whole that war with Joe Rogan.
What?
The CNN's war with Joe Rogan. That's been entertaining.
Well, the problem is that it's a combination of just like old media having that visual presence.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, it's so overwhelmingly not like a thing.
Yeah. It's an inefficient structure, and it's like, and
because we're so used to like, oh, CNN is CNN, Fox News, Fox News, New York Post, Washington Post.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is the intelligent parts.
The View. Yeah. But in the grand scheme of things, like, Rogan has more views in a week than...
Yeah.
Well, like, in his, like, 3 podcasts in a week has more views in total than, like, all of their content over a week.
24/7 views. Still can't compete, yo. Yeah. That's intense. And let alone all the payouts that they have to do for all those people. And
then YouTube clips and Twitter things that get shown around. And then other people that, like, take it and then share it. Like, the amount of people that are exposed to what he's saying to what they're saying about him, it's so much on his side.
Fair. Yeah, it's not even fair.
But we hear it and we're, like, still like, oh, my God, can you believe that? It's like, yeah, but, like, nobody, like, knows that.
Yeah. It's just crazy because they're, like, in absolute shock of... Or disbelief of what is what. They're just like, no, this is what it is. Like, I don't understand why. It is a horse paste. I mean, we're not lying. But it's like, I mean, the guy at Macy's, like, he looks nice and he's dressed up in a suit and all that jazz. Like, he looks very professional, but he's not making anywhere near the amount of money that the guy sitting at home in sweats doing, like, IT
movie reviews.
Yeah. Like, so it's just like, yeah, appearance is one thing, man, but it's not. Yeah, that oversimplification, man, is fucking poison.
Well, they're not oversimplifying; they're just lying. There's a difference.
I'm trying to be nice. But yeah. Like,
okay, there's like multiple segments over multiple like hours and anchors talking about him taking horse dewormer.
Horse paste, horse dewormer.
It's horse dewormer.
Yeah. No, they
did say paste.
They simplified it into like they talk about horse dewormer, but then there's some points where they even call it horse paste.
Joe Rogan,
like trying to even
who
diminish
took
it even
medication
more.
that is more commonly used with farm animals.
Yeah,
I heard that one.
Yeah.
He tweeted. I think you saw that. It's like
I'm not on Twitter.
It was Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan tweeted this. It was like an altered like photo, and it was like Joe Rogan drinks water, and then it's I think it was like Stelzer.
Yeah.
And it said the line on the bottom says Joe Rogan
consumes like liquid meant for. What is it?
God damn it!
My bad.
It was Joe Rogan drinks engine coolant.
Oh God.
It's just water.
Says it's good for your H2s and O's. The same thing that goes into the engine goes into his mouth. How dare he call himself an expert? Joe Rogan, just because it goes into the radiator doesn't mean you should consume it.
Wow. I'm so tired of that.
Yeah, that's fine. Assholes. Let's see what happens next week. Yeah. Keep up with these a little bit more. Hopefully I have my phone back.
So long. Farewell.
How the fuck are we going to end these things?
These shings?
These shings? Yeah.
Are you trying to do a Jamaican accent?
Shaman!
Trying to do these shings.
After 2 hours, it slipped out. Like my dick!
Oh man, yeah, we need to come down with like a format for an intro and.
I was thinking about for an intro, just like picking together a bunch of what was it? What was Obama's catchphrase? It was like
make America. God. Hope.
Hope. Oh,
Or change that you can believe in.
Yeah. No, there was another one. Yes, we can. It's like
yeah. Oh, yes, we can. My bad.
I was thinking about.
It's been so long.
I was thinking about splicing it all together. It's like yes, we, and then have
yes,
Trump.
we shan't.
no. Yes, we, and then I'll put Trump in like make America, and then have a Falcon at the end better, because he's like, oh, we can do better. So
that's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. See how much trouble I get in for that. Yeah. I'm sure I have no idea. So you're gonna think about it for 20 minutes.
All right, another episode down.
Yep.
Au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.
Anal beats out.